Good afternoon and welcome to Opportunity Homes San Antonio's regular board meeting. Please note this meeting will be recorded in its entirety. I will now conduct Commissioner roll call. Chair Gabriel Lopez.
Here.
Vice Chair Gilbert Casillas.
Here.
Barbara Unkema Burford.
Here.
Dalia Contreras. Estrella Garcia Diaz.
Here.
Janet Garcia. Leela Powell. Doug Ponick, Board of Commissioners Attorney.
I'm here.
Acting President and CEO Michael Reyes.
Here.
We also have a Spanish interpreter located at the back of the room should you require their support. The time is now 1:04 p.m. You may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. The Board of Commissioners or its committee may hold a closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071-076 for consultation concerning attorney-client matters, real estate, litigation, personnel, and security matters. The board or committee reserves the right to enter into closed meeting at any time during the course of the meeting. Citizens to be heard.
We have one citizen signed up to speak, Susan Baldwin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I live at Cottage Creek Apartments, and we met the new manager last week, so I'm looking forward to seeing how things go. But it's like I told her, I was coming down here to remind you, we need a coordinator out there still, because some of the residents still want activities, and we haven't done bingo or any of that stuff, you know, or the potluck like we used to do. And someone asked me, are you going to do anything for Easter? I said, look at the manager. I have no clue on that. And then someone said, what about night out? It's like, that's another question for the office because I have no clue. But I'd be willing to help them get the vendors because people know I can get you your vendors. Then I also had told her, and I thought I'd suggest it down here because there's a couple ideas I thought of that are not just good for our apartments, but other ones. When you have a lot of apartments empty, we know that in 2036, we're going to have more disabled, more seniors out there who can't climb into tubs and showers. They need a walk-in shower. And part of me is thinking like, well, if you have, say, and I have a feeling we have over 50 or 40, at least for sure, I'm going to say over 40 empty apartments. So why couldn't we use like on 5 of them, put walk-in showers so that they're ready? So you don't have to have the person living in it when they get it, because it does take a couple of days to do. Because I want to say, I love my walk-in shower and I've stopped falling, so that's a good thing. But I'm concerned about our other seniors and disabled at all other apartments that might have that issue. Also, like with the trash dumpsters, I've lived in apartment complexes where they not only have a top where you can put in, but you have a side door you can slide open. We have some residents that send their kids out with their trash. If they can't get it in the dumpster, they're going to just throw it wherever they can. And I'm not sure if you've ever thought of trying to get one dumpster at least with a side door. Because you've got some seniors and disabled that can't lift that high either, and they're going to throw it wherever they can too. And then I felt bad this week because I had to call the office and let them know, like, those new AC heaters that they're putting in, that silver stuff, I think it's considered air ducting and has a plastic bag over it. Well, with all the winds, you know, times when we've had windy days, those things have blown off, gone into the ditch. I've seen one go into the houses across the street. And I'm thinking, you started working on these either in October or November, and you still haven't finished a couple. It's like they're taking the time, and people are like, why aren't they getting them done? Why are they taking so long with that? And I said, it's an outside contractor, and you need to look at Saha. And it's like, I just thought, you know, a few ideas, you know, for the handicapped and disabled you need to know, because they're not just for us, my apartment, but everyone else. And, you know, I know we're going to have some improvements with new manager, and we're just, you know, going to see how things go. But please give us a coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, looks like we've got minutes to approve. We have the approval of the February 5th regular board meeting minutes, approval of the February 19th Finance Committee meeting minutes, and the February 19th Operations and Real Estate Committee meeting minutes. I'll call for motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
We have a
Second.
first, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. We have consent items 4, 5, 6, and 7. And as a reminder, I know that we had some comments or questions before on whether or not these are deliberated. We deliberate these consent items during our committee meetings. I'll take a motion on consent items 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I move to approve consent items 4, 5, 6, and 7 as shown here.
Okay?
I'll second the motion.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent items are approved. Okay, we'll move to the individual items. Item number 8, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6715, authorizing the Converse Ranch 2 Apartments project refinancing, including the expenditure of moving to work funds in an amount not to exceed $4.1 million, authorizing San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve Resolution 25 FAC-02-01, authorizing certain actions necessary to effect such refinancing. Further authorizing the execution of all documentation necessary to carry out the transaction and other matters in connection therewith. Miranda Castro, Chief Asset Officer, go.
Hi, good afternoon. This is on now, okay. Good afternoon. So I had to make some adjustments on this item. We had this item reviewed in the board meeting operations meeting last time, and there had been some changes that we're seeing in HUD. We are trying to pivot on our path forward on a couple of items. So this was one of those items that we've chosen to strategically, for the betterment of the agency and the community, do something different than what I had spoke to you last time about. So a brief history of this property. So the item came to the September 4th meeting, and then we had initially wanted to do a combination of taking a loan out with Frost Bank as well as use some MTW funds. We have decided to go forward with not taking a loan out with Frost Bank and pull all of the funding needed to pay off the bridge loan that's on this property with MTW funds. So as a reminder, the note on this property was due and was held by Frost Bank initially. We as an agency decided to carry a bridge loan so that we could go through the process of doing a refinance. We just were not quite ready to do so when the note expired. And so what we have now is a bridge loan, and we are looking to effectively take MTW funds and reimburse ourselves for the bridge loan. And we will be can you go back one more slide, Davlin? I'm sorry. We are looking to do, this will increase us by approximately 63 L&T units, which is going to be a good thing for us.
Okay, do we have any questions from the commissioners? I do have one question with regards to it. I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Michael, but if utilizing the MTW funds, does that align with the mission of their use? I know that we're trying to get back to it, or we just...
Yes, so those are actually listed in it's in the MTW plan as something that we were going to commit to. So it's already in the plan. So.
Perfect. Okay. On behalf of Commissioner Powell, I know she would probably want to question that. So, let's see here. Okay. No, if there's no other questions, I'll take a motion on this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, that this proves it all the way through. Okay. I'll take a motion on item number 8, resolution 6715.
So moved.
But first, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 6715 passes.
Thank you.
Consideration, item number 9, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6717, authorizing the Elan Gardens Apartments project acquisition and refinancing, including authorizing the expenditure of moving to work funds in the amount of approximately $4 million. All the other items, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the bottom here. So we want to make sure that we, as all of our entities, including Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation, through their resolution 25 LVPFC-02-01, I want to apologize. I'm going to back it up a little bit because we have the Frost Bank monies in here too. Forgive me. I will read this one. Finance Corporation to approve Resolution 25 FIN-02-01, authorizing actions required to effect the refinancing, authorizing the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve Resolution 25 FAC-02-02, authorizing the formation of a single-member limited liability company to acquire all ownership interests of and take all actions to merge, convert, and/or dissolve Enclave Gardens LTD, and to provide for the borrowing of funds from Frost Bank for a loan in an amount not to exceed $11.5 million, and all other actions necessary to effect the project refinancing, and authorizing Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation to approve its Resolution 25 LVPFC-02-01, authorizing the transfer of the general partner interests and all actions necessary to effect the project refinancing, the execution of all documentation necessary to carry out the transactions and other matters in connection therewith. Miranda, you're still up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So Elan Gardens, again, just brief history, was brought to you at the last ops meeting. This is a property that is exiting its initial tax credit compliance period. We are looking to acquire the investor limited partner interest in the property. This property has been looked at from multiple different avenues, including financial and physical condition, and has been recommended that we move forward on an acquisition of that property. But I needed to pull this from the consent agenda because not dissimilar to the last item, we have decided to pivot and make some different adjustments to our ask. So what we are doing is we are looking to expend from $2 million to $4 million of MTW funds. And then that would reduce the loan that we need to have with Frost Bank down to 11.5. It is within our MTW plan, correct? Yes, it is within our MTW plan to do that, and it's going to be a good thing for the asset because it will have less debt to carry, and then we are looking that it will project a potential of an additional 147 L&T units.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? If you might, I want to make sure that everybody understands what an L&T unit is.
So an L&T unit is, it's local non-traditional. It's one of the numbers and matrix that we are measured on as part of an MTW agency. There's many of them, but L&T is just one of the specifics, and there is a baseline of which we have to have a specific number of L&T units, and we track those data. The way that you get to an L&T unit is any unit that does not have subsidy on it. And so it wouldn't have any other kind of like project-based voucher or a public housing unit. In addition to it, also does not have a housing choice portable voucher either. So it's no subsidy on the unit, and that's how you get the calculation.
So I used to live next door to this property when it was being built, and it was a nice property. Is it in good condition now still?
It is in good condition. Elan Gardens is a shining example of our best management company doing what they do well. And so I don't have any issues with the condition of that property. I mean, it's 15 years old, and maybe the paint colors are not, modern as they would be today, but it's in good physical condition. There's no structural issues. The roof's in good shape. It has the envelope is the roof siding windows, if you will. It's clean, it's financially cash flowing, it's sub 95% occupied. It's a good building to take over.
And their payables are basically up to date and everything?
Yes, correct. They have never had a payables issue. It has always been a property that cash flows.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or question? If none, I will take a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve Resolution 6717. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 6717 is approved. Item number 10, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6723, authorizing the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve Resolution 25 FAC-03-01, authorizing the sale of a vacant lot located at 731 Runnels Avenue, 78208, and other matters in connection therewith. Miranda Castro.
Yes, so this is the, as a history of the property. So I brought to you last spring 4 lots that were identified as not having any strategic use for future developments to sell. This is the last of those 4 lots that are, we have an offer on. So the board approved the resolution to sell back in March of '24. This lot was acquired when we were doing the development of the Wheatley Choice Neighborhood Grant. And so it has just been determined that it was not needed for that community. And it is a zoned single family right now. And so that's not our business model. And so we're looking to sell that lot now. Can you go to the next slide, Devlin? So the property was listed in April of '24 for $59,000. We did a price reduction down to $39,000 in August of 2024. So this is an all-cash offer, and the buyer does intend to put a home on this piece of property, which we're really excited about for the neighborhood because it will have an improvement in the curb appeal, essentially, of the neighborhood. So we are very excited. This offer, they are looking to close on the sale on the 12th of this month.
And when we sell lots like this, do we always make sure we have a clear interest of how it's going to be used?
Unless it's deeded, which these are not necessarily, no. But we like to, we have an agent that we have a contract with, and I always ask what the future plans are for the lots. We can't necessarily restrict the use, but I have really paid attention to, is this going to be a good thing for the neighborhood? So as an example, one of the prior properties was in between 2 homes, and it was 2 related individuals owned each home, and they were going to build a second home on the middle lot, a third home on the middle lot. One of the properties was going to be an affordable housing duplex. So it's things like that give while we can't have a dictation, if you will, we definitely are looking for something that's going to be good for the neighborhood.
So $39,000 is what that property is valued at currently?
It is valued
on the tax rolls?
Correct, yes. And I think with the market as it is, I think that is a very good offer.
Any other questions? With no other questions, I'll take a motion on Resolution 6723.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve 6723. Do we have a second?
Second.
We're first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item number 10 is approved.
Thank you.
Item number 11, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6716, adopting the updated Affordable Housing Preservation and Expansion Policy to guide the selective redevelopment, acquisition, and new development activities of Opportunity Homes San Antonio. Timothy Alcott, Executive Vice President, Development, General Counsel.
Thank you very much. We've been working on this for some time. I think when I came back, Diana, one of the first things she told me to do was make sure you update this process. So here we are. But this is, I can go to the first slide here, statement of purpose. And this, the second line there says it all, but this is how do we, develop more deeply affordable units, and how can we go about doing that? We get less and less funds from Congress, and, we want to make sure we can serve those most in need. But that second sentence is our policy. This policy guides the agency decisions regarding the preservation of existing affordable housing stock and the expansion of affordable housing supply in San Antonio. So this is the guiding document on how we will do that. There's not a lot of changes on this. I'll try for brevity, hit the slides with the most changes. But, we switched the word from Saha to the agency for obvious reasons, but not a lot of changes here. So I'll try, unless y'all want more detail, I'll stick to the changes. Not a lot here also. It talks about, we look at the results we want, and this is how we get there. So these are the steps to go there. So it's relationship with the theory of change. This one here is the neighborhood and guiding principles. Again, not a lot of changes here, but you can see that the goals there on the second paragraph, 3.2 and 3.4, 3.3, but making sure our residents live in safe communities, and this is how we're going to get there. And so they're listed there in the 5 bullet points. Because there's not a lot of changes, I'm going to move quick, and if, again, can hit anything in more detail as desired. You'll see the bigger change there is on the last bullet point, and that is, every year, the amount of money we get from the TDHCA, the income levels could increase. It could increase by 2%, 5%, 6%, whatever the income is. And so we just updated the language there so that way and our tax credit deals, as the incomes increase, we would increase proportionately, or else it becomes very complicated with the TDHCA. And so there's nothing major there, but it's mainly just cleanup language. There's nothing really on this page. And so the affordable housing preservation and expansion criteria, this one's just word changes. And the bigger point for discussion is going to come up. So I'm kind of going fast here. I'll slow down on the part that is more substantive. I'm not trying to go too quick, but I want to spend more time on the part that y'all probably want to listen to. But project and base, not a lot of changes here, but I just highlighted again that, we want to live in, safe areas, near bus stops, social services. It says it there. And here's other considerations that we're also going to coordinate with the City of San Antonio's SHIP, Strategic Housing Implementation Plan. So we updated that because it's an old document. They now have a development policy, and we want to work hand in hand with the city as they're, coming up with their plans. And now we have project principles. This is for housing and redevelopment. A lot of this was more wordsmithing again, but, we added the words economic mobility there. We will develop mixed income communities that encourage socioeconomic integration and economic mobility. Again, we add things with the SHIP plan on the next bullet point. But, a lot of this plan we're trying to do is, you'll see like one of the other bullet points is to address the chronic federal underfunding. And how do we do that with less and less funds coming from the federal government? And so that's a lot of the project principles we're trying to hit here.
Stay on this slide. Do you have a question? Bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4. We have using income averaging as a tool.
Yes, let me go through that. So on our 4% deals, they changed the federal regulation. Lorraine can correct me, but say 4 years ago. It could have been 2 years ago. And so when we did 4% before, 4% tax credit deals with bonds, you had to have them all at 60% AMI or below. And so with income averaging, they changed the rules. So we can have some projects some units at 70%, some at 30%, as long as the average comes down to right below 60%. And that's great because before, only the 9% had the folks that we're really trying to target, which is a 0 to 30% MIs, actually 0 to 15% MI. With income averaging, we could have a couple of units at 70% to offset the lower rents of someone at, say, 15% AMI.
Sure.
And so it gives us more flexibility. So this allows us to do income averaging.
Good.
And then this is one where there's more changes, so I'll spend a little bit more time on this. If I flip forward just for a second, this was the old policy, and I think y'all got this electronically, but originally we had a bunch of buckets, and it was 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, and 10. That adds up to 100%. And what it said was that we're putting it, exactly certain dollars into these different buckets. 10% was for reserves, 30% was for public housing, 30% was social services, 30% was like for land banking and future expansion of public housing. And the reason that Diana had my ear very early on is that oftentimes, sorry to keep on bringing you up on this call, but on this thing, but was that oftentimes we'll have gaps, on our project. And so we would take the funds, we put it into the DSNR Development Services Reserve Funds, and it might have a project like one of Miranda's deals that we built, and then that's in her shop that we're trying to buy back, and there's a gap. And so we're taking those funds to continue to preserve affordable housing. But oftentimes it's really hard to be exactly 30, 30, 30, and 10 becomes a financial issue. It could be that the federal government, y'all were up in Washington, makes changes to the amount of funding that we receive, and that we need to have funds to be able to continue, to pay vouchers and things of that nature. So this policy, if you go through it in detail, it does talk about that we want to continue to focus on the low income, but it has more detail here, and I can go through, let me go backwards here on this thing. Whoops, project pencils, here we are. But it says, first of all, at the beginning, it talks about we go through the financial challenges associated with producing deeply affordable units. And it says, first is what we're going to do is, and I go on to read the next slide, is that these are the different categories we put the funds into. One is that we're going to continue to focus on deeply affordable units, creating new affordable units that are below the 0 to 50% AMI level. And so that'd be like either workforce housing, but also folks that are on our wait list that are 0 to 15% AMI. So that gives us flexibility for all those different income groups. It also, as I mentioned earlier, which is what we're doing, we're trying to fund budgetary gaps. And so if we have a public housing development, for instance, that has gaps that we need to get repairs on, we need to put more money over there, we can certainly do that. So, affordable housing units, we'll be able to put funds in there. It's also preserve and redeveloping existing public housing units, allocating funds for capital need projects. I'm doing this third bullet point there. We can also use it to acquire existing properties. And so that's something that's been new. We've looked at apartment complexes, and sometimes some of the new pro formas I'm seeing that it's costing $240,000 to build a unit. But we've seen, Mike and I did a tour recently of an apartment complex, and others were on there as well. But it was like $90,000 a unit. It didn't fit for other reasons, but sometimes it might be better to buy rather than build new. That would be involved with a lot of political conversations, with the city and make sure everyone's on board. But we really want to make sure that we have the flexibility to have those discussions. And if there is an opportunity where we can provide, deeply affordable units, and if it's, finding a property on a fire sale, that's part of it, that we want to have that flexibility. What's also important is that we have the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and that's risk mitigation to keep residents housed due to personal financial hardships. And, that's something that we believe strongly in, and we're going to continue to fund that.
Can you go back one slide?
Yes, I can.
Let's see, the third one, under preservation and upgrading of existing public housing units. This might be a question for Joanne, but we have on the third bullet point, implement technology upgrades, including Wi-Fi services and security equipment. Okay, I know Wi-Fi, we're already providing that. Is there a specific reason why we're calling out like Wi-Fi and security, or is it just to continue with the upgrades and things like that as needed?
Well, I think Joanna can come to the podium to expand, but I think the main thing is we're seeing excess expenses with broadband and the bandwidth in terms of folks are really using the services, and so there's a cost to that. So we got initial funding from actually Congressman Castro with community project funding to kind of get the project launched, and we also got some additional funding, but there are ongoing expenditures along the way, and so we want to make sure to maintain it. Joanna, I'm not sure if you have...
You're doing a great job,
okay.
Michael.
Okay. Well, and that's what I fear. I mean, our phones become obsolete, after 12 months. I know my 18-year-old daughter keeps asking for the new ones, so I'm figuring that's what this has to deal with.
Yes, and our residents, I think, especially at our elderly and disabled, they're using it for streaming services, which is good for them to kind of keep entertained. But that comes, again, that cost of bandwidth that we need. So, Joanna, I'm not sure.
That's the ongoing cost that we always incur. We'll have the initial installation and implementation costs, but the bandwidth costs will continue.
Good, okay.
as we try to provide these services.
So this just gives us the flexibility that on any proceeds we have, we can drop them into these buckets as needed.
Absolutely. And I think what we don't want to do is end the services. They need it, they rely on it, they expect it, so we want to make sure to maintain them.
Great, okay, sorry, didn't mean to
They get
interrupt.
very upset the minute that we don't have the services because they are being utilized quite a bit.
Good.
So just for clarification, the buckets that are listed here, are these by areas of priority, or is this just put out there?
These are just the options. And so I wouldn't say that we're going to do, just like focus on creating new affordable units versus the rent mitigation fund is what is needed at the time. And so it could change on an annualized basis. So, we could have year 15 deals, tax credit deals come up and we spend more money trying to fix those gaps, preserving, deeply affordable units one year, and another year maybe an opportunity whereby we are using the funds, to land bank or something of that nature. And so, but every time we spend funds in this regard, we bring it to the board. So even though this is the policy, but if we're going to land bank or we're going to do an apartment complex, acquire it, it does come to the board. But it gives us less restrictions and not be in violation of our policy one year. Well, we said, well, you're going to put 10% into reserves, and it could be this year we don't put any money in reserves because of federal funding cuts or something of that nature. So we're just trying to have that flexibilities. But again, everything does go to the board ultimately for this on an individualized basis on the approvals.
Okay. Yeah, considering the scrutiny with some of these developments and the proceeds that are earned from them, I just wanted to make that clear that it isn't necessarily a prioritization of certain things over others. It's just when it's needed, and we will make sure to take care of everybody.
That all the funds are going towards these different groups, which is really supporting folks 0 to 50% AMI in different means.
One question for Joanna. You can stay there. As the usage goes up with people, especially in the senior disabled properties, do y'all monitor the usage if you need to put more bandwidth? So they're, since now, like they said, they're using it for streaming, and, that they're not there buffering. Do y'all add more bandwidth as it's needed for the residents?
Thank you. I have to speak in the microphone so that for the benefit of the recording. We do. We are constantly monitoring the amount of bandwidth that's needed. We don't necessarily increase it. We talk about throttling if needed, but we haven't done that either because we've been able to manage it, pretty well. So we do try to keep up with we do monitor, in other words, to answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
But we have not implemented any kind of throttling or anything like that yet.
Thank you. But this is the slides here that had the most of the changes. As we go to the next one, this is the red line of what came out. But the rest of this is continuing to build, B-side, build San Antonio Green, things that our tenants spend less money on utilities, and so if we can build things that use less energy, they have more money for helping their families. So we continue to do that. This is again just name changes, so there's not anything substantive that was changed here. More of the same here, whereby the policy hasn't changed, literally no changes on this page. And then this one here is we just updated some names. But it says it's primarily responsible of Lorraine's department, which is Development Services and Neighborhood Revitalization. And she's working on a closing right now, so she's not here. And then there's the definitions. Any questions?
And every year you're all going to review, this policy is reviewed yearly. What's the checks and balances that you're really sticking to your policy? You can create policy and then you get into the minutia of the work and just making sure that you're adhering to it and it's changing as things change.
Well, I think when we, go ahead. Yes, when we bring things to the board, I think we just refer to the policy on this. Actually, this is how we meet the policies. Oftentimes it has that on the board agendas, what policies we're trying to hit. So I guess it'd be on an individualized basis. Every time we do something through that theory of change is the goal was this, is every one of them, is that following the policy? And that's what actually would cause the concern we had before, was as things came up, that we were worried that it wasn't going exactly 30, 30, 30, and 10. And we want to make sure that we're presenting things to the board accurately, that we're actually following the policy. So I guess that everything would make sure it fits this. And like if it's something that is, a higher, income development deal, the funds of that then would go down to these, to 50% AMI to make sure that still is our focus.
And Commissioner, if I could just add to what Tim said, and I think that's been the concern, because this policy has been in place for a few years, and I don't think we were holding ourselves accountable, and I want to make sure we're accountable.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a quarterly, biannual, or even annual report that kind of details where the funding is, where it's going. That way, it's documented and we're transparent. So we can commit to reporting. We just need to figure out whether it's quarterly, biannual, or annual. But we could, and if you have suggestions, we're happy to take it. But I think it's important to document it. So.
Do you have any questions or comments? With none, I will take a motion for Resolution 6716. Taking a motion. Sorry, we just had a question with regards to the policy. Is there a motion? Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
We were first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 6716 is approved. Just for clarity, I know that there was some conversations at one point about us considering any sort of conversions. That particular question gets answered within this policy, correct? It just allows us.
This is just a foundation, right? We'll talk. We'll have a briefing to the board on March 18th to talk specifically about conversion and what that could look like, and so we'll present that.
So this isn't specifically. It doesn't automatically give you that approval. You would. That's something that still would come to this body.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. At this time, let's see here. I know we've got the nonprofits. Let's, actually, Counselor, if you can read us into closed session. I'm going to ask that we move item 12 and 13, and we'll discuss it in closed session as part of real estate.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, do you want a president's report now, or do you want to wait till after the close?
Oh, I just get back, yeah. President, let's go to the president's report, and then we'll move 12 and 13 into closed. I guess we could knock out the last. Let's do the president's report. We'll do the nonprofits. Then we'll go to close.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quickly on there's 4 items I wanted to highlight. One was the Housing Outlook. We hosted our inaugural Affordable Housing Outlook on February 21st. It was a great event at UTSA where we brought together our private sector, nonprofit, academia, and community partners together to have discussions on the legislative outlook for this year. We talked about preservation, we talked about production, we talked about financing, we talked about innovative solutions. The goal really was to reflect on the lessons learned and successes from the prior year, but also look down the pike on what's coming up this year and how we can work together as a housing ecosystem. So we'll be doing this every January, and I think it was a great inaugural event. It was streamed, and so it's on our social media channels for the public to view. And so we're glad to have partnered with our Chief Housing Officer, Mark Amona, on it, and it was a successful event. So I wanted to thank the commissioners who attended that event. Second, the HUD update. There's been, obviously, the rumor mill has been going full scale the last few weeks, and we were fortunate to be in Washington, D.C. the last few days to kind of get clarity from our congressional delegation and other folks. And what we learned was we don't have clarification, and there's still uncertainty. We do know that Congress itself is having trouble accessing HUD headquarters, so much so that Congresswoman Maxine Walters of California is unable to reach anyone at the department, and so she wrote a letter and physically had to walk over to the HUD department to deliver a letter to essentially say, please answer our phone call. So there's a lot of uncertainty of what's happening. And on a local level, the rumor mill was that, folks here at the local HUD office would be impacted. There are rumors, but based on the reporting by Bloomberg News as of yesterday, it looks like the field office will indeed be closed here in San Antonio, along with the ones in Houston and most field offices around the country. The goal is for the administration just to keep one regional office open. So that means we would have Fort Worth as our regional office, but that also means that we're going to see delays in approvals, everything from subsidy layering reviews to just fair housing complaints to just the normal kind of guidance from HUD. So it's a huge hit to not only San Antonio, but to Central and South Texas in terms of not having a local HUD office. Again, that's based on reporting. The administration still, and Secretary Turner hasn't, the new HUD Secretary Turner has not mentioned anything specifically, so we anticipate hearing more information soon, but that's from the political side. From the funding side, we checked this morning, I spoke with our CFO. Typically around this time, we would see the funding for the next month for our public housing funding. We would see April, the 1st to the 30th in our system. It's unusual right now. We only see April 1st and 2nd, 2 days worth of funding in our system. So we're hoping to get clarity on why we only see 2 days worth of funding. And so we're looking into that. With the Section 8 voucher funding, we have no control over that. That comes as an ACH directly from HUD. We are hoping it'll come in for April. So with that said, and then we have a looming possible government shutdown on March 14th if a congressional continuing resolution is not passed. When we were on the Hill this week, we asked, I think the Hill staffers, many of you were on this delegation, there was a lot of uncertainty, right? If there's no CR, there will be a government shutdown. This will not be a normal government shutdown because we don't know what that would look like. That's option one. Option two, if there is a continuing resolution, we would maintain 25 funding until the end of September. That would have a direct impact as well because it's last year's funding and we're trying to work with future funding. So in either situation, it's not good, but we do have plans in place and we're ready to respond. In the worst case scenario, if funding doesn't come through for April, the direct impact would be our landlords who would not be able to receive funding from us. But they are aware of the situation. We've communicated with them. So it changes by the week, and so we'll just continue to stay alert and be prepared for whatever comes our way. So that's the HUD update. And then grand openings, just wanted to quickly go over Los Arcos at Vida on January 29th. We were glad to partner with the city for a 324-unit community on the southwest side of San Antonio. It's going to provide families 30 to 70% of AMI, including housing choice vouchers. So that was a great partnership deal, and we're glad to participate. Then on February 18th, we had Vista at Silver Oaks, another affordable housing unit, but this time on the north side. There were 76 units for families earning between 30 and 60% AMI, and that also included the affordable housing bond monies. And so we're glad to partner with that grand opening. And then finally, upcoming events. We have our MTW plan open public comment that's open for FY26. And that's open through March 28th, giving residents and stakeholders the opportunity to help shape the future. Feedback can be submitted via email to mtw@homesa.org. And we, of course, encourage our community stakeholders, our residents to provide feedback on what they want to see with this, with the future of this organization. And then tomorrow, we're hosting a community resource fair with Haven for Hope. We're glad to support them and their efforts to provide housing programs and resources. And that's tomorrow, March 7th. On March 14th, we're having another grand opening at Bristol at Somerset. That also is a 348-unit development. It provides high-quality homes for families earning up to 60% of AMI. So we're looking forward to that. And of course, the board, you all are invited to join us. On March 22nd, we're honored to walk alongside our community at the 49th annual Cesar Chavez March for Justice. That is organized by the Cesar Chavez Foundation and co-sponsored by the City of San Antonio, so we're glad to participate in that. And then finally, it's important for this organization to open its doors and be transparent and have community dialogue. And so we're launching our Housing Power Hour during the lunch hour at the last Friday of every month, and talk about important topics that are affecting our housing apparatus here in the city. So we're having our first one on March 28th. The entire public's open, including our target audiences are the public, our residents, elected officials, community leaders. And so we're going to have a series of discussions throughout the next few months, and it's important that we have that dialogue and conversation so we can reach solutions faster. So we're looking forward to that. So that's my president's report.
Busy times.
Michael, I have a question. With the possibility of funding not coming down for the vouchers for the private sector apartments, have you talked with landlords that they're not going to start evicting people if they're not getting paid?
I don't know if Stephanie has any additional updates on communications, but we've been updating our landlord corner. We've been communicating with our landlords on what is possible. If you recall, the last few months, we had a policy change saying they would not get their funding until we receive our funding, just to safeguard the organization. So they understand it. And I'm not sure if Stephanie, if you have anything else to add to that question.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. So we have been trying to do a lot of posting on our landlord corner. When they email in, we're trying to give as much guidance as we can, but we do let them know it is based on that HUD funding that does come in. And we're trying to be as transparent as possible so that they can stay up on top of the news, but also to reach out to their congressmen if they have concerns about the program, and just to reiterate the importance of the program and how it works for them as well. And so we haven't had as many call in as normal as we thought it was going to be. I think most of them read the notice that it was going to be between the 1st and the 3rd when we normally get our funds, and I think they're hoping that there won't be a shutdown.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Just a comment on that. From yesterday's meeting, we met with the lobbyists from the federal lobbyists for LISC and, good Lord, and for the County Housing Authorities Association. They did indicate that there's a bipartisan CR that is being floated right now between the House, and they even have Senate approval on it already. So they will supposedly it's going to be extended out to September.
Right, and that's the best scenario, that it'll be extended to September. It'll still be FY25 levels, so again, we'll take it versus a government shutdown, so.
Don't take away, leave it alone type stuff, yeah. Okay, good.
I do have one other thing I'd like to add, that reminded me. The HAP contract does state in there specifically that if the resident they can't make the resident pay the HAP portion. And so under the HAP contract, it does specifically have in there that they can't penalize the resident for the housing payment. Now, however far you go with that, like if it was 3 or 4 months after that, then that's where it gets a little bit more sticky, and then they might have more of a legal background on that side. I don't know much about the law, but we have seen some landlords try to do that. But we do reiterate that they did sign the HAP contract with that understanding that they can't penalize the resident for the HAP portion.
Okay, with no other comments, I will recess the board meeting to open the Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation meeting. We don't need to do roll call or anything on this, or do we? Just go straight into it, okay. So the agenda from the Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation meeting, I'll call that to order. Do we have any no citizens to be heard on this one? We have minutes from the February 5th Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation meeting to approve. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have one consent item, consideration and approval regarding resolutions 25 LVPFC-02-01, authorizing the exercise of Enclave Garden Limited's option to prepay and defease the San Antonio Housing Finance Corporation multifamily housing revenue bonds. On the series 2007 transfer partner. Actually, on this one, we can just take that as I'll take a motion to approve this one. This is the Las Fadas portion of it that we approved during the board meeting. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That consent item is approved. Oh, wait.
Facility Corporation.
We'll adjourn this, say again? Oh, sorry. We'll adjourn this meeting at 1:53. We'll move on to the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting minutes. I'll call that meeting to order. We have no citizens to be heard at this meeting. We have minutes from the February 5th San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting. I'll call for motion on that one.
Move to approve meetings as presented?
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have consent items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Actually, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I have one question on 8, but it'll be quick. So I'll take a motion for consent items 4, 5, 6, and 7 first.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those consent items are approved. Item number 8, with regards to the Runnels Avenue, there was one, did we correct, there was a comment that we had with regards to the language. I think I brought it up. I didn't see it here, so I didn't know if that,
The strategic outcomes.
Outcomes.
Right. We discussed it, but I don't think we changed it on the resolution yet because of the timing, but we.
but it will.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I just wanted, this is a comment. I just wanted to make sure. I know that was on there, and I just had a question on it. So if it was going to be adjusted, just make sure that we do that before we.
Do that.
With that being said, I'll take a motion to approve item number 8.
So moved.
Go first, we have a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That resolution, or consent item number 8 is approved. I will adjourn that meeting. We'll move to the San Antonio Housing Finance Corporation meeting. I'll call that meeting to order. We do not have any citizens to be heard. We have minutes from the February 5th San Antonio Housing Finance Corporation meeting. I'll take a motion on the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
We have a first, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We have one consent item, number 4. I'll take a motion on that one.
So moved?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The consent item is approved. I will adjourn that meeting at 1:56. Counselor?
Yes, sir. The board will be convening in closed session to consult with its attorney and discuss personnel under sections 551.074 and 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, specifically to discuss and consult with the attorney regarding the CEO assessment and goals, the CEO search, CEO job description, and related matters, and also to discuss unpaid receivables in affordable housing communities and regarding partnership evaluation tool. The time is 1:56.
Great. I told, Again.
Hello and welcome back to Opportunity Home San Antonio's regular board meeting. The time is 3:26 p.m.
With no other questions or comments that need to be made, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.